In today's show, we discuss Austria. It has just enshrined access to cash in its constitution. So, should Britain follow suit?
And now, the TNT Talk Show, daring to go where other podcasts fear to tread.
Hello, I'm Tony Fasulo and I share the stage with my esteemed friend and colleague Tayo Boya. Tayo, hello my friend once again. I hope you're keeping safe and well.
Yeah, what the hell, Donny? What you gonna do, eh?
Come on, you know what I'm going to ask you. It's tradition, has to be done. Say hello to our audience, but do it in a manner which is appealing.
Hello, audience.
That's certainly different. I actually didn't mind that at all. That was really good. Oh dear. Anyway, before we continue with the show, I will ask our audience out there to like, subscribe, comment on whatever platform you happen to be on, whether you're watching us or whether you're just hearing us on all the platforms that are out there. Please do comment, do like, do subscribe, and give us any feedback on what you think of the show, what topics you like, what topics you don't like quite as much. We would love that feedback. So yes, please keep those coming in because we value all of them. So please continue to do so. Right, Tayo, the topic for today. Now this is one you came up with only recently and I wasn't aware of this, and the topic for discussion today is Austria, country, has just enshrined access to cash in its constitution.
Yes, well done, Austria.
And should we follow suit, in meaning us in the UK?
Yes. Well, as I say, well done, Austria, for doing that. I think it's an important principle.
Has it actually been ratified? I don't
I
think it
don't,
has.
I don't. Nothing's been ratified, but
No.
I know it's going through the.
It is, yeah. It's
It's
going
going through
through.
the process, and there's no reason whatsoever to suspect that it won't. There's no major opposition
No.
to it, so there's no reason to fear that it won't go through. And I think it's just fantastic that someone on the continent has got their thinking caps on and is ensuring that their citizens will always have this access to this very important mode of transacting business, currency, if you like. This implementation of currency, because we see government overreach in all parts of our lives now. It's not only government. I mean, the most amazing thing is that people in power, whether it's political power or in positions of power in business, seem to think that just because just because they can, that they should. I call it fascism. I don't know if that's what a political scientist would call it, but we seem to have grown a lot of fascists in our society, and they seem to have their hands on the levers of power. I remember as a programmer working with a business manager who, in all other respects, I respected, but she really had this kind of drive to control everything. And I was always fighting with her to say, look, let the user make a choice. Why are we enforcing a choice upon the user? We're not going to be there at the very moment that the user is interacting with the program, with the application. If we give the user the choice, the user knows best whether he or she wants to do A, B, or C. And she was always, no, make it only C. It's like, but why? I couldn't understand that mentality. I mean, we were quarreling about it all the time.
Well, can I jump in? There's
Go on.
evidence to show that too many choices and we stifle. We're stifled as humans. Funny
Analysis
enough.
paralysis.
Yeah.
Yeah,
If there's
okay.
more than 5, that's it. We're rubbish. So more choice is not necessarily better. There's evidence to show this in a number of studies. So if you're limiting someone's choices under 5 items, the client, individual themselves, are actually shown to exhibit less stress. When there's too many choices, we actually get stressed because we're getting kerfuddled as to what choice to make. So yeah,
It's a shame that we seem to be, in that case, kowtowing to and catering for what I would say the intellectual dregs of our society.
that's rather harsh.
It's
Why are
a
you calling them intellectual dregs?
well, they have to be if just a question of having choices. It's just going to go all dithery. Oh, I've got choices. Look, man, calm down. Go step by step. Make a logical choice. There's no biggie.
Do you know what? There are a lot of people that are not as blessed as you, perhaps, that find IT and all sorts of things like that relatively easy to navigate. There's a high section of society that don't have that confidence. So if they're confronted with too many choices, rather than encouraged to go down a particular route, they've still got a choice, maybe 1, 2, or 3, but the choice is narrow so that they're not making mistakes and don't then end up in a kerfuddled mess because of the technology more than the choice itself.
I like I say, it's the intellectual dregs because if you don't know what to do, just choose one and see how it works out. No problem. Come back to it later and say, well, I had all these choices. I only had 2 minutes in which to make a decision. Very sorry, I chose that one. I wish I chosen not,
Well, the repercussions
but
could be quite catastrophic if you make a wrong decision.
yeah, excuse me, I wasn't exactly saying which heart machine do you want to switch off.
Well, yeah, you
I wasn't writing that kind of software. If I was writing that kind of software,
yeah, but
no, I'll
if you
probably
want to pay an established place, £10,000, or do you want to pay Joe Bloggs Inc. round the corner £10,000? You want to make sure you're picking the right one.
yeah,
So
you do want to make sure you're picking the right one. What you shouldn't be doing, you shouldn't be forced to. You shouldn't have my former manager trying to force you to choose to pay the big corporation because she thinks who Joe Bloggs. When is Joe Bloggs ever going to want £10,000? And
well,
I'm like,
okay,
maybe Joe
I
Bloggs
don't know
does
the
want.
ins and outs and the detail of the program that you were working
All
on.
I'm saying is they trust the user. That's my basic principle. That's my position. My opening position is trust the user, trust the person. You and I, we've
But
had this
what's
kind
that
of
got to
hidden
do with the
arguments.
currency that we're talking about in this topic, though?
Well, I'm going to finish saying what I'm saying, then I'll come back and
Okay.
I'll tie it in. You and I have always had this. This is a fundamental difference between the two of us, and why I think we'll always have something to argue about. You always for imposing choice, and I'm always for letting the person exercise the choice. Now, if you don't have cash in your hands, you can't. You can if you have cash in your hands, you can spend it any which way you like. You can spend it on a corner with a drug dealer, and you can spend it, or you can spend it on medication for your little one. It's up to you. You've got that choice. But if it is the digital currency, then you might not be able to buy drugs with it, for instance, or to gamble or to buy chocolate, because, for example, the government running that uh, digital currency might decide because the doctor has advised that you're pre-diabetic and you shouldn't have X amount of chocolates, and you've already bought a certain amount of chocolate that month. So the government decides for you, and you can't actually buy chocolates.
So my
And
question,
where so
can I
where I
just
started
jump
from.
in, is that your issue then isn't with the fact that they've enshrined cash. It's the fact of trusting the government.
That's exactly my problem. Not just the government. Look at Nigel Farage. For people who don't know, Nigel Farage is this political figure in the UK
American
who
friends know who he is as well. because
The
he's a friend
Americans,
of
because he's
Donald
a friend
Trump,
of
isn't he?
Donald
Yeah.
Trump's. Okay, but maybe other people won't know.
Yeah, around
Nigel
the world
Farage,
may not know him. Yeah.
Nigel Farage is, well, he was a politician. He's no longer a politician.
No.
He was a politician who had a very large and positive influence on the Brexit process. In large part, I could say that because of him, we had Brexit, we had that vote, and because of him, we are trying to leave the EU. We haven't succeeded yet, but
You use the
we've
word there
begun.
I have umbrage with.
Yeah,
You
we're
said
trying.
positive.
Yeah, it's been very positive
I
because of
disagree
him
with that term.
we had the Brexit vote,
Vote.
and we are still trying to leave the EU, but we haven't succeeded yet. Anyway, he had his account with one of our national banks here cancelled, and initially they said they gave an excuse and said it was because of this, and then later on it was because of that, but
I
the
too
board,
was thinking it was because he missed the threshold. That's what I was informed in my circles as well. But it was a
yeah,
lie.
yeah, and they're just lying. I mean, it's just because that if they are people who want the UK to be in the EU, and he is in large part of the process that took us out. Well, is trying to take us out of the EU.
Can I
So,
can I jump in there very quickly? Do you know what I think has actually happened? They were saying, "Oh, it's his views in the end," but in the end, it wasn't that. It was because he has been an influence to actually curtail their profits. Because now that there's a barrier between us and Europe, there's this additional fee that banks in the UK have to pay when transaction in Europe and vice versa. And that is lost revenue to the banks. And over a period of time, that's hundreds of millions of pounds. So they're basically saying, we don't like him. And they were looking for ways of, I don't want to have business with him anymore. They're an entity, they're a company that makes money at the end of the day. So they can choose, if you think about it, who they want to have as their customers. Now, granted, the government don't like that because in law, everyone is entitled to a bank account. But as far as the bank that actually got rid of him are concerned, I think it was more the fact that poke him in the eye, get him out of here, because he's the one that's damaged our profits because we weren't able to remain in the EU.
that's right. Look, if that's the reason, that is probably even more despicable. Because
I agree. I'm not saying it's great, but that's
at least,
my take on it.
yes, at least if there was a political disagreement, then you could say, well, it's a spiritual, if you like. It's
a political disagreement
yeah,
because
if
it's impacted them directly, hasn't
it's
it?
anything but just purely mercenary.
It
But
is
if it's just
mercenary,
this,
I'm afraid. That's what I think.
yeah. So if it is what you're saying, that's just purely mercenary and shows what's going to happen if we have a digital currency. If the banks can get someone just because they say, well, he's cost us millions, or maybe it was just because they had a political difference of opinion, perhaps a combination of the two. Who can say?
Do you know what I liken it to? Have you ever been to a nightclub when you're in your youth?
Yeah,
I'm not saying now.
yeah. Now, I'm not joking.
No.
Yes,
Has there been a bouncer on the door?
yes.
And some people he just chooses not to let in.
Okay, well, I
Okay.
assume I accept that.
Right, but we accept that. We say, oh, he's being an idiot. He's picking on those people. He's not letting them in, or whatever it may reason. And this is almost okay. It's a slight leap of faith here, but it's almost like how the banks are behaving with Nigel Farage because he's put their backs out, so to speak, in monetary terms because he genuinely has affected their bottom line because the UK leaving the EU has now introduced all these additional barriers that were not there before. And so their bottom line has been affected. So when they've seized an opportunity on, you know what, let's poke a finger in that guy's eye, let's get him out and make his life difficult. I think human nature has sort of stepped in and they've gone against the principles of the bank and decided to make him a target. However, let's give him his dues. He fought back admirably, and got some senior people ousted, which is good, actually, because they really shouldn't have done it. Despite the fact I'm not a fan of Nigel Farage, I do agree. I do agree that the heads had to roll. They didn't. They did it with the reasons which are not right. But there we go. That's my two pennies worth on this topic.
The number I've got to disagree. I didn't have time to sort of note them all. I think I have three objections to your simile there. Example of
Thesis can't even be
sorry.
thesis. It's not a thesis, is it? It's my, I don't know, what's the term we're saying?
I'll just
My
go with example.
deduction of how the whole thing works.
Your example
Yes. Go on,
of
enlighten
going
me.
going to a nightclub. Number one, there's no natural right to enter a nightclub. It's not enshrined. It's not enshrined by law that you have a right to enter into a nightclub. However, if the bouncer was only picking on black people or Asians or LGBTQ or something, then yeah, then there'd be a problem because then that would be discrimination. So there's that.
But the bank isn't getting rid of everybody, are they? They're just getting rid of this one individual.
No, I'm just saying that
Oh,
if
okay.
it's a one individual, then you can't turn around and say I have a right to go into the nightclub. No, you don't. But actually, you say that everyone has a right to a bank account. So presumably, if you're closing someone's account, then you should have a good reason for it. And I'm not sure that what I'm hearing from this particular banking chain is a good reason.
No, there wasn't. I
So
mean, I'm jesting here. I'm trying to find reason for their justification, maybe that hasn't been made public. I don't actually know,
mm,
but the reasons that have come to light aren't good. It makes
no,
the bank look bad. And if anything, if they had reasons not to work with him, they could have just made his life difficult. They could have downgraded his account and just gave him a basic bank account, which is actually all that the government say that everyone is entitled to. And it's a basic one. No overdraft, no cards, just a basic bank account. And they could have been awkward and done that. But then he would have seen through that for sure. But they thought that they would just turn him away and use a stupid excuse
mhm,
as a reason why. But fair play to him, he fought it through and won. Now, I don't know where he's gone now as far as banking is concerned, but he's certainly got the head of those two, the 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 parent bank and the child bank, which he was actually with. Both the heads of those have gone, haven't they?
yes, but it still hasn't. I still think he can't. It doesn't have that account, that bank account. And I know he's been to. He said 10 other banks, and he's been refused.
See, that I
You know, all of
find
them.
strange,
Yeah,
I'll be
well, I
honest.
don't. It's exactly my thesis here that even this is even with just a bank account. Never mind when they get a hold of digital currencies, and it could be a lot. It could be a
Well, it's
lot
the
worse.
same rules. I think we've got a hang up here with digital currencies. We're afraid of the term digital. What does that mean?
I'm not afraid of the term digital.
Well, what you
I know that when I spend digital currency, you will know what I've spent it on. When I spend cash, you have no idea what I've
but
spent it
that
on.
then implies you're being nefarious, so you're trying to hide something.
No, as I've said to you before, I can't remember the name of the film, but I love what the main character in the film said. She said, "It's not that I have secrets, it's just that I have things that I don't want you to know." Now, why do you have to know what I'm doing with my money? I mean, it's my money. I have privilege. Look, everybody goes to the loo. We all
Mm-hmm.
do.
Yep.
But nobody wants to do it in public. I mean, unless they're really very odd people. So it's not a secret that you go to the loo. It's just that when you're in the loo, you just like some privacy. When I'm spending my money, I just like some privacy. It's not that okay. You don't have to look over my shoulder. I'm an adult now. Thank you very much. Step back. It's bad enough that my credit card people know what I'm spending my money on. But if I just want to spend money on something that I want to spend it on privately, thank you very much. That's what I want to do. And I have a right to privacy. Or at least I used to. I don't know what sort of rights we have now in the UK. They're
Do you think?
dwindling every
Do
day.
you think though that the banks and organisations are interested in Tayo's spending habits?
Yes, Because for
Why do
one
you
thing,
think you're that important? That's a bit of self-importance there. Why do you think they care?
they care because they can sell that data to people and to interested parties, and interested parties can resell the data and start targeting me with their adverts.
But that happens
It'll be
now.
everywhere. Yeah,
Happens now.
okay, it happens now, but just because something happens now to some degree, there's no reason for us to sit back and let it happen to an even greater degree. We already don't like it. We already fight back. I already use web browsers that don't track my behavior. I actually go out of my way, which I shouldn't have to do, to lessen the amount of my data that's leaking out into the public space without my permission, express permission. And it's all very well to say every website you go to, something pops up and says cookies. Do you want to dismiss? Blah blah. I mean, who has the time to go through go through these things individually? What are they using it for? T's and C's change, and then you have to start all over again. It's hogwash. And the mere fact that we're thinking about it with these people they're so untrustworthy already, why on earth are we even contemplating letting anybody in power get a hold of even more power with these digital currencies?
So you
Cash is at least one way that we can it's one way that we can do business without even more oversight. And I'm saying that it's essential that we keep it. And that's why, by the way, this argument that we're having has been done and dusted in Austria, and people like me have already won. Because people have just turned around and said, no, we
I've
absolutely...
got a problem with cash, and I personally think we should keep it. But I'm trying to tell people, and tell you as well, and on our listeners and watchers, don't be afraid of digital currency. We're already there. So this pseudo fear that people have, oh my God, I'm going to be totally controlled. They could do that now if they wanted to. They seriously can.
No, they can't because we've got cash.
Yeah, but you don't spend cash anymore.
Well, actually, some people spend cash. If you Google living off the grid, you will find there's a group of people who do spend only cash.
Yeah, they do. They're a minority. Right.
Well, yeah, but first of all, you said no one does. Then I said some people.
No one is in the term of absolute. You're talking a few. Majority of places, they actually prefer not taking money because money is a liability and it actually costs them by taking it. Would you believe?
Yes, I do believe. And in fact, it's going to get worse because I can now name a bank. NatWest is now limiting access to cash, making me feel like I want to switch. I don't know if I should say this in public, because now they know my bank account. But now they know my bank. Yeah, I'm thinking about a different bank now. Not that I use cash, but the mere fact that there's this bank that wants to limit access to cash makes me feel I want to be with another bank.
That's daft. You're not using cash to the quantities that they're keeping this limit in place, but you want to leave.
Yeah,
because you
vote
might.
With my feet. No, I don't think I ever will. I just don't like the mentality of the people who are behind that kind of thing.
But they're doing it for cost and security.
Everyone who has ever taken power away from you has always done it for your benefit. That's how people lose power, because they believe the lie. It's for my benefit. I didn't ask for it. I've never suffered from it. It's not my problem. If I had a problem with it, you could say to me, look, I could go to you and say, I'm an inveterate gambler. I've had my credit card company help me by not letting me use my credit card to gamble. I now need you to help me to not give me access to cash so that I don't come to the bank and withdraw everything and go and gamble with it. And then the bank says, well, we hear you and we'll help you out and we'll help you do that until we can all know that you're over that problem. You've gotten over the problem. That I support the bank, and I would hail the bank and say, well done, bank. But for the bank to unilaterally say, hey, do you know what? We know better than you what you need.
Not we know better
We are
than
Big
you.
Daddy. We take our instructions from Tony Fusulo. We will be fascistic, and we will tell you what Tony the Knife wants us to do.
There's this fear. There's still this fear that Big Brother is watching.
Yes,
don't worry about the banks. It's not the banks.
Making it worse.
It's elsewhere.
and Big Brother is making it worse by doing everything that George Orwell said they would do, including trying to limit access to cash.
Just by limiting access to cash is not the thin edge of the wedge.
It's
so
way past the thin edge.
We've already went past the thin edge 20 years ago when credit cards first came out.
Credit cards are fine. You don't have to take a credit card. This has got choice. Where you and I are different on this is on the question of choice. If you have cash and you have digital currencies and it's your choice as to whether you use a digital currency or use cash, I sleep easily at night. I don't have any problem.
What do you need the cash actually for? Because the cash is not yours. Did you know that? None of the cash is ours.
I need the cash to do the stuff with cash that I want to do with cash.
Okay.
Whatever it is, that's why I need it.
You can do that with digital currency.
No, I can't because I don't want people monitoring what I'm doing with my money. So no, I can't do it with digital currency because then somebody somewhere will know what I'm doing with my money. I don't want that. Thank you very much.
So would you buy a car with cash?
If I had that kind of cash, yeah, I might. Because if I want, for whatever reason, I want that particular car, and I don't want it showing up on my bank statement or whatever it is.
Because you want to do it so you hide it from the tax man.
I don't know why I'm hiding it. You're being very negative.
No, I'm just asking for the reason. You've got to justify it.
It could just be that I have a joint account and I want to surprise my wife, rather than anything nefarious.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. So as I said
take
before,
that money out of the joint account and move it to another account and then pay from there.
Well, no, because she and I will run this one joint account.
Well, then you could just have a separate one. Then that's not a problem with the cash. It's a problem with the way you're running your account.
Well, just because of this one-off gift for my wife, it doesn't have to be as big as a car. It could be something smaller. But say, a few £100. So It doesn't have to be as big as a car. I just want to give her a nice surprise. I don't want to change my entire lifestyle because I want to give my wife a nice surprise.
Then that could be the usage of the account as opposed to the account. Because I tell you why. My wife and I both have our own personal accounts and we have a joint account for the house. And we put money from our personal account into the joint account for the house. But we still have our own personal accounts.
Yeah, the point is that as long as I've got a choice, I can do cash or I can do digital.
So it's
so whether or not, yeah, no. So it's rather than me messing around with bank accounts, I got a personal one and I got a joint one because maybe I don't want the personal, maybe I want personal spending, yada yada yada. It's just very simple. We've always had cash. Keep it as is. Everyone's happy. That's my position.
We used to hunt for buffalo, but we don't do that now. We used to use horse and cart, but we don't do that now. So are you saying we should go back to those?
No, I'm saying because going back to those would be highly inconvenient. If I had to break off this recording because I hear buffalo outside and I got to grab my gun and go and shoot myself something for lunch tomorrow, that would be really, really inconvenient. It is far more convenient to go to Waitrose or Tex or whatever it is next door and buy as much meat as I need when I need it.
Indeed.
So no,
but they
prefer the same thing.
They prefer the convenience of a card rather than cash.
I just said if some people want, then they have the choice. Choice is everything. If you prefer the convenience, well done. You go ahead. Use the thing that you find most convenient. So
are you saying therefore that the banks and the shops shouldn't have that choice either? It should only be your choice.
It should be everyone's choice. That's what choice means. The choice, you have the option of being cashless. You can go to a store that says, "Oh, we don't accept cash." Oh, all right, you don't accept cash. Off I go next door. Do you accept cash? Because I want to spend this here £600.
They say no.
A lot of shops will say, "Yes, please come in, sir." So the one that says, "Please come in, sir," they'll go my business. Now, if every single shop I go to says no, well then maybe I'm in the wrong country. Maybe I got to move to Austria in that case, where they've got it's enshrined in law.
Well, not yet, but it's about.
Well, I'm saying, maybe. Well, definitely move to Africa. Although that's a different story. Because
Go on, elaborate. What do you mean?
no,
Why?
Nigeria is going full pell-mell into this digital currency thing for very specific reasons. I don't think it's going to
Control.
work, but
That's
it's
control.
yeah, big time. But if for the sake of Nigeria, I don't even know. It'd be good. It's just a question of whether that would be a good thing for Nigeria. I suspect it won't, but it might help. Anyway, I
It can
think the topic is
the
very specifically
difference.
the UK.
Okay, the difference, and one of the primary drivers as well, is it reduces corruption. Now, granted, you're right. I'm not. I mean, obviously, I've been teasing you a little bit with some of the pointers here. You are right. It reduces corruption in the population, but it can increase corruption outside the
Where it matters.
population. So that yes, so there are elements of danger in that respect, and you're absolutely right as well that if, although they can do it now, but if somebody was doing something and the government thought they were a threat, like we had in the situation with Russians living in the UK, their accounts were stopped. Now, we didn't need digital currency for that to happen. It can happen now, and it does. So the digital currency is just a more detailed version of that. But it does bring, if we did go digital, it does bring other flexibilities too, because you then don't need a bank account. Isn't that strange? You could transact with somebody just by using a mobile phone without having a bank account. I've got mobile phone income in the value of my phone, and I can touch your phone. I'm choosing to go directly to you. Here, we're touching phones, you and me, and I transfer money to you, to your phone. No bank account, no nothing, just transfer. So it can add additional flexibilities that cash doesn't have. Because, for instance, now you must have been caught out, I have certainly, where you've got to park somewhere, machines only take cash, and you don't have enough coins. Whereas that problem would go away. Bars and restaurants prefer cashless because it's so much easier for them. They lost so much time trying to work out change when a customer was buying that it made their, not the performance, but it made the number of drinks they could serve per hour drop considerably. Since people are now paying more with cards, it's immediate pay, tap, tap, tap. That industry is booming in terms of how many drinks they can serve when there's a bar that's full. So there's benefits in certain areas too. And the digital currency, although we're there anyway, it's just a term, adds more flexibility to that. So I'm looking at the positives, but you're right, there clearly are some negatives too, because if you mistrust your government and mistrust the people in power explicitly, then yeah, we're going to have a problem. But I think there are enough checks and balances that will not stop that ever happening, but certainly limit it, if making it only very few occasions. I reckon the bigger problem would be cyber technology and cyber issues, because if it is all digital and everything is linked, if a foreign adversary, say, would be state run, for instance, they could cause real mayhem if they got into the banking system and messed up that in the background. In fact, they probably wouldn't reveal themselves. They would just do things in the background and cause all sorts of problems. That's a bigger risk as opposed to the government itself controlling the likes of you and me.
Just to go back quickly to something you mentioned, you said you've gone up to car park where they only took coins. A lot of people are suffering from the exact opposite, the reverse of that situation. They've gone up to the car park machine that only accepts cards, and for some reason they don't have a card. They weren't able to pay. They were so used to having coins and they're not able to pay. Not everybody, as you were saying earlier, is all
That's like
faith.
saying that's a really not a very justifiable excuse. It's like saying, "Oh, I want to travel to France, but they stopped me because I didn't have my passport." Come on, you've got to have.
Do you think everybody has a credit card?
No, but if
So what are you
someone's got
saying
a
then?
car, they've got a card. How many people do you know? I'd love to see the stats for this. How many people drive a car legitimately and don't have a credit card because they don't have a bank account?
I don't know the stats, but it's not going to be zero. It's going to be
No,
a
it's
few
going to be
people.
tiny. So how many people are actually affected by this? It's an edge
Those
case.
100% of those tiny people you
Well,
mentioned.
yeah, it's
And
an
when
edge
you say it's
case.
tiny, without you being able to show me the figures,
Well,
now
you're making out like it sounds like everybody goes to a car park is going to have that
that
problem. That's
I'm
not
saying,
that's
I'm
far from the
saying that
truth.
it's been that some councils, in research for this, some councils have had people give them an earful because they've tried to pay and they haven't been able to. And the
Because
council
they
has come
haven't
back
had a
and said,
card.
yes.
Do you
And the
know
council
what?
has
Even
come
if
back,
you have a card, you might not be able to pay if you've got no funds in the account. So it
well,
works other ways as well. These are edge cases. It's not your
yeah,
norm.
but if the thing is that if you got a card, a machine that takes cards and cash, you're giving people choice. And
You're also giving
I'm
opportunity
pro
to
choice.
burglars and
No
vandals to
pro,
break the machines and try and take the money. When they're cashless, you don't have that problem.
where
So there's benefits for the
you're giving
country.
opportunity to hackers to actually replace the screen with some screen of their own, and you're scanning your card straight into into their you're scanning the card into their fake machine. So that's not a problem. We know that happens with what do you call these machines that they put
ATMs.
ATMs.
Mm.
So it's nothing is 100%
No, I'm
certain.
saying it's not. But you
It's
by
just that
having digital, you actually
let's have a
improve the
choice.
security
Let's
rather
have a
than
choice.
okay.
Let's have a choice. And yes, you've been trying to say for all this episode that we already have digital currency. What I mean, I might not even have a proper idea of a digital currency because, as I think our audience knows by now, I'm not always sure that I know what I'm talking about, and
Are
they're
you
probably
talking
not.
central bank digital currency, like a
I'm,
cryptocurrency?
I mean the kind of currency where each unit of that currency is monitored. It knows where it is, so to speak. We know what it's doing and where it came from and where it is now. And if you spend it, we know where it goes. That particular unit of currency, if it's a pound, if it's a digital pound, that digital pound can be switched off by someone, by the person, the person's controlling the system. They can switch off that because each pound has, I mean, like our banknotes have got serial numbers. I don't think our coins do. So each digital pound has a serial number and therefore can be traced individually. Now, in some respects, this is excellent because I don't know if kidnapping will ever work. Well, if you kidnap people, then you can't take cash. You can't take currency because it can be traced. So you'll have to take something else. But I suppose that could be arranged. Just ask for gold or something. Um, that's what I mean by digital currency. I mean I mean when I say digital currency, I mean currency in which each individual unit has a serial number and is traceable. That's what I mean. Now, what do you mean by a digital currency?
Well, crypto is that
Yeah, well,
cryptocurrency.
that's what I'm talking about. What are you
Yeah,
talking
but
about? Because you've been saying
cryptocurrency
you
is
already
that.
have digital currencies,
Well,
and
digital currency, it's just the you're talking about the next evolution of this. This
that's
is
what I am
not
talking about. Yes.
okay, but that's when you've got a ledger, which is cryptocurrency,
Mm-hmm.
where central bank digital currencies, where central governments are bringing out their own cryptocurrency. That's what you're trying to say.
Yes.
Yes, but that has a ledger.
Okay. Well, that's what I mean by digital currency.
But
So
but the ledger, the way that it works is that you can't switch it off because if you do, it records who switched it off
yeah, the
and
government
where.
did. The
Yeah,
government switched
but
stuff.
you'd have to ask why because that's
Well,
written in the
I'll give you.
Constitution.
Well, okay. We'll come back to that in a second.
Okay.
Do you know of a gentleman called Graham Phillips? Have you heard of him?
No, I can't say that I have.
Okay, well, you have heard of him because I told you about him. You just forgotten.
Okay. Well, I'm
He's
old now, so
it's,
I'm using that as an excuse.
he's a British journalist who working in Russia
Oh,
and
yes, I do
and
remember.
Ukraine.
Yep.
Yes, and he had his accounts frozen. He's the first, and I think I'm right in saying the only Briton, native-born Briton, who has been sanctioned for his views on the Russia-Ukraine war. So he's had his assets frozen. He doesn't have access to his house. His bank accounts have been frozen.
Yeah, but he's been deemed a political, not treasonous, but you're not far away because he's siding with, in quotes, a non-friendly entity as far as the British government is concerned.
All right, so first of all, I know that we have an embassy in Moscow. And I know that the Russian government has got an embassy here in the UK.
Yep.
I also know that we've not declared war on Russia. And I'm also aware that Russia has not declared war on us.
Absolutely.
So I have no idea what you mean by that he's siding with an unfriendly government
you can
to the
see
point that
at the moment we're certainly not at war, but it's like the Cold War. The Cold War wasn't really a war; it was disagreements, and we wouldn't deal with them, and we wouldn't deal with the USSR because of their practices, and so we weren't technically at war, but we didn't have to deal with them. So there's certain levels of dealing, in quotes, with countries. Now, if this gentleman happens to be shouting from the rooftops his allegiance to the way Russia are conducting things, the British government are going to be a little bit, pardon my language, annoyed. I was going to use another word there, slightly stronger, but I didn't. I wasn't tired. So,
you know what, Tony? Fuck you.
I'm going to have to bleep that out.
Yeah, well, I am glad I gave you some extra work to do then.
Oh dear. But yeah, the so of course they're gonna, it's like the poking in the eye thing that I mentioned about Nigel Farage. The banks were doing it. This time this guy has said things that clearly the British government are not happy with, and they've said, right, okay, we're going to punish him by freezing all his assets. So now what's he going to do?
Right, so the points I would like to make is when you talk about people and the Soviet Union and all that, there's a British politician. Can't remember his name. I can absolutely see him in my mind's eye. He's a Labour Party politician, and he's been in Parliament forever.
Was he the one that was on Big Brother?
What, George Galloway?
Yes. Was it him?
No.
Oh no, you're not talking about him.
No. This is your old school Northern Labour.
John Prescott.
No. He never even he's so radical that no government ever had them in their cabinet. They wouldn't touch him with a 10-foot pole.
Okay.
Right?
You sure it's not George Galloway?
No, yeah. Look, I've got him in mind's eye. I can.
But you don't know his name.
I can't remember his name. I bet second this episode is over, the second is over, I'll say, oh, I meant so and so.
Okay.
A short gentleman. He's short. Has a northern accent. Very forthright. Very black and white person. No nonsense about him. You know. And back in the day, back in the 80s, he was sort of always the one saying, yeah, but the Soviets aren't that bad. That sort of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so that's how far back his radicalism goes. Now, he was never cancelled. I mean, he's a member of Parliament, for God's sake.
Yeah, but in Parliament, if he said that, you've got parliamentary privilege.
He probably said a lot of things outside Parliament, too. He wasn't one of those people who gave a horse's, hair, well, like you, I was going to use hair rude. He didn't care much about offending the powers that be. And he has never been touched because he has some power. This journalist, what is interesting about his being sanctioned by our government is that it was not done with any court order. He hasn't even had allegations leveled against him. Now, he has
Are
written
you
to
sure
them.
about this?
I am sure, and I'm sure he's complained about it, and they've written to him and said, I think it was a 500-page dossier saying this is what you've done to offend us. Now, he's going to High Court, and it should be a lot of fun to see what the High Court is going to do with this, because I expect the High Court to say, this is nonsense.
Yeah, they will back down. But they've done it just to annoy him.
So the fact that they've done it without the aid of what I call digital currencies, imagine if you had digital currency and they switched it off.
It doesn't matter.
What do you mean doesn't
It's
matter? It
the
matters to him. He
same.
can't spend any money.
Yeah, but he can't spend money now.
Well, he can because he has other accounts outside the country. Well, he says he hasn't.
Okay. But
he says
you're saying
it
it's a
hasn't.
global thing, this digital currency then?
Oh, it is. It's coming from now. This next little bit, just this little bit is conspiracy theory. Okay.
Okay.
But little
Don't
bit.
tell me the World Health Authority.
No, WEF.
Oh, okay. WEF. Oh, okay.
World
Do you want to
Economic Forum.
explain what that is?
Look, as far as I know about the WEF is that it's a forum, isn't it? It's a talk shop. It's a ad hoc think tank, if you like, and it's what's the name of Klaus Schwab. Klaus Schwab.
He's wasn't he a banker?
No,
that's Charles Schwab.
There
Sorry.
we go. Well, all I know about Klaus, here, can I do the accent now? We have ways of making. I'm sure that here Klaus Schwab has not any Nazism strain in his body. He is not a Nazi at all. Say hi. Control. Everything
Is that what he said?
Everything for our benefits. It's all for the good of mankind. So it's all for our good, guys. It's all for our good. We should be eating insects to save our planet from global warming, etc., etc. It's all WEF. Well, the net effect is that the people with power get more power, and the people without power get even less power. And they are the ones who are driving this digital currency because it's very, very important for our security, that we should have our currencies, our money controllable for our good, of course. And that's what I'm saying, that they always claim it's for your good. Now, how did we get onto this topic? Because I wanted to say something else about it. Oh, yeah, this man, Graham
Phillips.
What is astonishing is that all these things were done without a court order. I, as growing up, I've mentioned this before, I'm going to mention it, I'm mentioning it now. I'm pretty sure I'm going to mention it again. Growing up and listening to the radio, I used to listen to the BBC World Service. I had the distinct impression that Britain was the gold standard of law, order, and due process. That any country in the world had to be measured up against what we did in the UK, because the UK was not going to be the country that took your house away from you, that closed your bank account or froze your bank account, that took your football club away from you. All this without going to court and putting an allegation against you in court. I still don't know what Abramovich did wrong. He was Putin's friend.
Yeah.
Is that illegal? Because there's no law I know of that says being a friend of Putin is against the law. Because if it was, people would have an opportunity to obey the law or to disobey the law. And if they disobey the law, then they should be punished for it.
I think
you don't have...
I understand what you're saying, but what they're doing is in that particular example, they're erring on caution and they're being overcautious because it seemed like everybody who happened to be of Russian descent was sanctioned. It literally was ridiculous. And I understand they're trying to limit any issues, but they were just being overzealous in this particular example. But you're right. I mean, the crown, if you want to put it that way, of Britain has been toppled. Let's put it that way. They were the standard bearer that you'd have to compare to, but I'm pretty sure they've lost that since this should I say it, conservative government have been in. And it hasn't been the whole conservative government, it's just been the one that's been in the last few years. They've been shocking. Boris Johnson onwards, well, Theresa May wasn't much better, but Boris Johnson onwards have been pretty poor. And I think the standards have certainly slipped considerably since they've been in power. And to rectify that, I am with you on this one. They're no longer the standard bearer because they're doing things that you think, what? That's not right. And it wouldn't hold up in international court of law, clearly, because this gentleman, Mr. Phillips, has been harshly dealt with, as well as some of the Russians. Now, I'm not saying that they shouldn't have been sanctioned. I'm not saying that at all. But are they doing it for a fear which they don't really have evidence for? They're just overzealous and just asking the question.
I don't understand how anybody can be sanctioned unless they've done something, they've broken the law. As I understand it, the sanction...
What law have they broken in order to be sanctioned? Yes.
Not only that, but in the US, I mean, okay, it's not the fault of the UK government. You can't go for what the US have done. They're actually selling their yachts and their possessions.
Oh, I know. If they're doing that, that's just wrong.
And these are people... So what happened to the rights? What is it called again? The right to private property. There's an actual right to private property, which is all just thrown out the window. And I'm just frightened that digital currencies just gives the government even greater levers with which to be. Let's face it. Let's face it. These are pretty much third world country governments now, banana republic type countries. I mean, the rule of law. Where is it?
Indeed, that's an absolutely solid question to ask. Yeah, where is the rule of law? What laws are in place? I mean, have we missed them? Is there something that's there that we're not aware of, that they could have charged these people and in so doing sanction them? I'd like to know. I'll be honest. I'd like to know. The same with this Mr. Phillips. What was he actually charged for in order to...
Well, he hasn't been charged. Let's be clear.
In that case, they've got bigger justifications there. Is he a security risk? Is he revealing things...
He's a journalist.
Okay.
On the front lines.
But is he...
He's actually on the front lines.
On the front line. But is he revealing things...
No, he's on the front lines on the Russian side. So if he was going to reveal anything, he'd be revealing things about the Russians. You'd expect it to be the Russians picking him up because he's giving away the positions of their...
Yeah. I'm trying to understand. I don't know. It's a genuine question. I don't know.
Okay, I thought I sent you... I'm pretty sure I sent you one clip from the dossier where one of the allegations is that what's her
so
first
you've
name?
actually
Carla?
got a dossier of what he was accused of?
He's been sharing his dossier with us in snippets.
So this has come from the British government to him,
explaining why they sanctioned him.
Right. Okay.
And I thought I sent you one. I'm pretty sure I did.
I don't think I have. No, not seen that.
When he said, where in the dossier it said, it was when he was saying that Carla Dugina, I believe that was her name, if you remember, the daughter of this famous novelist in Russia who was blown up when they thought...
Oh, that's right. Yes.
Yes. He said, well, she was clearly blown up by the SBU, which is the Ukrainian security services. Now, for me, that is piss poor journalism. Because when you make a claim like that, you've got to be able to back it up with facts. And since I'm pretty sure he doesn't have facts and he can't prove it in the court of law, I think all he needed to say was allegedly by the that one single word would have just saved all the trouble.
Well,
but he didn't put it in.
Be the reason.
Yeah. Okay. So first of all, why are we? First of all, is that a crime in the UK? Because it's actually making a claim against someone else in a different country. That's the first thing. If you make a claim against MI5 blew up Carla Dugina, or MI6. I always forget. No, MI5.
MI6 is
internal.
Foreign, yeah, and MI5 is in the UK. So yeah.
If that's true, why is James Bond MI5? I think it's the other way around, Tony. Because James Bond
MI6.
Is he?
Yeah.
Okay. What a strange thing to be arguing about when we're
I
talking
know, we're
about
talking
digital.
about, I know, we've really digressed. Also, we're
James
getting
Bond.
close to the top of the hour, and we've
Are
still
we
got other
really?
topics to talk about. Yes, honestly.
Oh,
Exactly, we've digressed, but we've had a bit of a ding dong here. I mean, you wanted to ask, and let's touch on it very briefly because we've got about 5 minutes or
okay.
so left in the show. You wanted to talk about the downgrading of the US monetary system by Fitch. Is it Fitch? I think it was.
Yeah, was it
Yeah, it was Fitch recently.
Fitch or something like this?
Fitch ratings, yeah. It was Fitch. Because but the point is, it's nothing new. This because Moody's, which is the other one of the
Mm.
other big ones as well, they've already done it, and Standard and Poor, which is the third one, they already downgraded the U.S. government credit rating from AAA to AA plus. Okay, AAA is the gold standard, but AA plus is what the UK is. So it's the confidence that these agencies have in if you borrow money or sorry if you lend to those governments and what you will the chance of you getting the money back and it's not junk like some of these banana republics. You will get your money back, and all it is, it just says yeah, they're not as good as they were at managing their economy, but just be aware. But the thing is, it doesn't matter about this slight downgrade because it's a small downgrade. It's more not insulting, but it makes them look less top drawer. Do you know what I mean? It's not going to affect any organisation or even government investing in the US because they know they will get the money back. But if the US were to default on their debt, now that's a different story because all this does by downgrading it, and all three of the main ones have downgraded
Has that happened
the
now? Because it
US.
hadn't initially. It was just the
It
one.
happened. No, two of them did it initially, and now Fitch has done it as well. So
Right.
we had Standards and Poor did it, and Moody's did it originally, and now Fitch has joined it as well. And so they've downgraded it, which basically is telling investors, the US isn't being run quite as efficiently as it should be. Now, for lawmakers in government, that should be a wake-up call because all three of these standards bodies are saying to the US government, oi, you're not doing a good job here. You're wasting money. Interest rates are high. You need to pull your finger out. And that's it really. So it's not, it's more of a slap on the wrist. Come on, get your act together. It's not a downgrade where you've gone to B level or even junk
Yes, but
level.
for the
That's
US, I mean, the famed
yeah, for the US
US.
point of view, it's not great, seeing
I
as
mean,
they're the
that's
biggest economy.
that's pretty heavy. I'd have said. The thing is this: the US has to be treated with a slightly different yardstick. It's going to be held to a slightly different standard because it's in the envious position of being able to pay its debts in its own currency.
Hmm.
Now, the thing is, if you borrow money, so if you lend the US money, you are guaranteed to get it back. It's not the same kind of fear that you'd have
No,
with other countries. The reason you're going to get the money back is because where do you get dollars from?
America. Yeah.
From the Americans. So if they print it, you get your money. But how much would that dollar be worth?
Well, the strange thing is, it doesn't matter because you're getting a dollar back. So if you spend the money with them in dollars, you get it back in dollars. So you're not losing out. It's only if you're then going to use that money and spend it elsewhere, which is unlikely. So
Well, most of us don't live in the United States. Most of them, I mean, like the Chinese, for instance,
yeah,
they have what is it now? I mean, it's down to $890 billion from a 1.3, 1.4 was the highest they ever had. But they're shedding dollars like anything because who knows? They could be the next up to have their assets free
I think
stolen.
they're having separate problems. Did you know that? The Chinese government have been propping up their housing market artificially,
Hmm.
and they are losing money hand over fist
Serves
because
them right.
oh, and they're going to end up in a real mess very soon because in the boom times where the economy was growing in double digit growth, they were building cities,
I know. I've
literally.
seen entire cities, and there's no one in there,
No,
and it's
no,
falling apart. And I'm thinking to myself, well, surely you just give people apartments. Why don't you just give it away?
no, they can't
What
do
do you mean
that.
by no? Sorry.
Because the people have paid up front. How it works is the city's being made, and they ask for people, the public, to invest. So the
Mhm.
public gives some of their money, and I don't know, 40% of the value of the property up front before it's even made. And then the rest comes from the government. The government sponsor the building companies, and they put this thing together and hope it gets completed for those people who've put the investment in to move in. So half of it is the fact that the companies that have built these cities haven't completed them, so people can't move in, and so
They
the
just took the money
people,
and ran
yeah,
away.
they're taking it, but they're taking the money out. They want their money back. And these companies haven't got the money to give back to them because they've spent it building the cities, which they haven't yet completed. So they're in a catch-22 situation. And also, those people who are taking their money back out, they said, well, we wouldn't live there now, even if they did finish it. So it's in a real mess, honestly, and it's caused the right kerfuffle in China. So
Well, they
that
don't
is
like
a
black people, but I could suggest that a whole bunch of black people in Africa who are looking for apartments.
just
Dude,
move in,
think
fill
outside
them
the
in,
box,
fill
man.
them
Think
in.
outside the
Indeed,
box.
indeed. So
And
that's a separate
maybe
subject.
if any Chinese government officials listening to this, maybe what you do is you threaten your population. Look, if you don't take it, there's a whole bunch of Africans. We're going to put them on the boat and we're going to bring it. And then quickly they chow la, don't have and everybody, now, obviously, I'm not trying to insult Chinese because I'm pretty sure that was gibberish in Mandarin. But you can get the picture. Yeah.
Okay, I mean, I'm
My
mindful here. We're
question
getting to the
was
top of the hour here, so you need to start wrapping up. Go
my
on.
question, because it was a question,
Okay.
would CBDCs in any way, shape, or form conceivably help the Americans to spend even more money without facing further downgrades? That's my question. So I don't know the answer to this. I'm asking you because of
No,
your
it would
years
make
in.
no difference at all because already the currencies are fiat currencies. They're not all fiat currencies, just for
Mm,
the benefit of our listeners wondering what you're talking about. They're not, they're none of, well, none of the governments in the world actually, I don't think are, any of them are not fiat currencies. Whereas before, currencies used to be linked to physical assets like
mm.
gold. So you had an amount of gold stored away, and your currency was linked to the value of the gold that you held. That's all been got rid of now. The currency is fiat, means it's floating. It now is based on your country's output as a country. What does it produce? You know, what projects does it have? How wealthy are the populations? So it's linked to that. So whether you've got a digital currency or cash, it makes no difference because it's not linked to anything. It's linked to the country as a whole. So the fact that the US are borrowing, well, I don't know, hundreds of billions, if not trillions, it's huge trillion numbers,
One
isn't it?
point three trillion dollars was it in July or something? I heard or something like that. And today or yesterday, Janet Yellen at the Treasury put out, was it $860 billion selling in 30-year yield bonds. I just heard today, I watched the video today.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, okay, so that's interesting. So the CBDCs are not going to help the
Not really.
Americans. Now, to answer your question, the BRICS countries, they're actually working towards a gold-backed reserve currency. That's what
Interesting. Because if that's
that's
true, there's not enough gold to actually cover that. So that'd be interesting how they do that.
everybody and his brother's been buying gold as if it's
So
going out
what? The
of style.
gold has value has gone up on the markets,
No,
or
they've
what's
just been
going
doing
on?
it for donkeys. They've been doing it for at least 3 or 4 years now, and you can check out how Chinese
Interesting.
store everybody, the Chinese, the Indians, and the Russians. Not so much the South Africans. I have no idea what the Brazilians have been up to. That's number one. Number two, the Russians are floating a new digital ruble, and that's going to be gold backed. I understand. Oh, Oh, by the way, sorry, the BRICS one is going to be backed by gold and a basket of commodities. So
Interesting.
they're meeting on the 19th, which is a couple of 10 days away or something. They meet on the
Interesting.
19th, and they're going to be working on that, and we should hear something. They say we should hear something quite firmish by September or October.
Do you want to very quickly before we wrap up, because I'm really mindful of the time here, do you want to explain to our audience what BRICS are? Because some people may not
Oh,
have heard what that is.
BRICS is an acronym. BRICS stands for five nations: Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. And they came together a few years ago as a sort of informal club, just sort of working together economically, politically, but informally, just I've got your back, you've got mine kind of situation. And it's really taken off. A lot of clubs, a lot of countries are now asking to join the BRICS. I believe its last count was like 40 countries want to join the BRICS. The most interesting ones being Saudi Arabia and Indonesia. Already, I believe that BRICS, as even as it currently stands, houses about 40% of the world's population and something like 25% of the world's GDP.
I'm
Means
surprised it's that low. I would have thought the
it was
countries you've
higher.
just mentioned, I thought it would be
Mm,
way higher. If you think
yeah.
about it, Brazil,
Mm,
Russia,
yeah.
India,
Uh,
and China. I think
mm.
that's more than the world's
Well,
population.
the figure
It's
I've got
way
is
more.
40%. It's about 40% BRICS
I'm
and
not
about
sure of that
25%.
group then. It may not be actually them four countries.
No. That's Brazil, Russia, India, China, South Africa. That's BRICS. That's I
Okay.
guarantee.
All right, interesting. We need to do a show on that, perhaps. We'll have a
When
look.
Indonesia joins them and Saudi Arabia, then think of the oil they got to think of the
Wow,
oil resources,
indeed.
and that'll become
Okay,
interesting.
okay,
Yeah.
that's great. We need to wrap up here. So, what's your view? Do you think, well, although you said should Austria has enshrined the cash in their constitution, should we do the same? We
We
actually in the UK don't
don't
even
have
have a
we don't even have a
constitution.
constitution. Well,
No.
we have to make it some kind of thing that we can bring it in, and it'll be very, very difficult for any government. I mean, the kind of thing that we bring in and then we say, part to get rid of it, Parliament needs to have 98% of its members,
Yeah. Vote before or
and
something.
the House of Lords, so it's virtually impossible to get rid of it. We need something like that because we don't have a constitution. It's probably
Indeed.
about time we had a constitution, to be
Well,
honest.
that's a separate topic. But yeah, I'm with you. I think we should still keep cash for those that need it, give people the choice. But we shouldn't be afraid of digital anyway. It is just another medium. So, but yes, we should still maintain cash alongside it.
Mm.
Okay, unfortunately, we have reached the end of the show for another week.
Bye.